Welcome back to Ancient Age. I mean, imagine this, it's the dead of winter, no sleeping bag, no modern gear. Temperatures are plummeting toward levels that kill within hours. Your life depends entirely on improvisation. This wasn't a thought experiment for soldiers throughout history, this was survival. From World War I trenches to ancient mountain campaigns, soldiers discovered that staying alive wasn't about having the right equipment. It was about understanding raw principles and creating solutions from nothing. Today, we're revealing the forgotten frontline hacks, ingenious shelters built from scraps, radical techniques for generating warmth, and the raw ingenuity that kept men alive when standard kit failed. The bitter truth soldiers learned across centuries is simple. Military-issued gear is designed for average conditions. War rarely obeys averages. Supplies ran short. Equipment was lost in chaos. Unexpected weather descended with lethal speed. When that happened, the gap between what soldiers had and what they needed became a chasm that killed. Consider World War I soldiers standing in frozen trenches for hours. The standard-issue greatcoat provided inadequate insulation against sustained exposure. Blankets arrived late. Replacements for damaged gear went missing in supply chaos. Soldiers had to become engineers of their own survival. Throughout history, whether in snow-covered mountain passes or frozen siege campaigns, soldiers faced the same fundamental challenge. Media group, historical soldiers in snow-covered mountain passes, medieval soldiers huddled on frozen ground during siege and stock, distributed equally. The human body loses heat rapidly through exposed skin and direct contact with frozen ground. Standard military kits acknowledged these realities only partially. The rest was left to improvisation. What emerged was remarkable. Soldiers developed an intuitive understanding of thermodynamics and environmental engineering. They learned to read their environment like a text, extracting resources others overlooked. They developed social techniques, methods of sharing warmth, that turned individuals into interconnected survival systems. These weren't passed-down wisdom. They were innovations forged in cold darkness, tested under conditions where failure meant death, and refined through shared experience until they became standard practice among soldiers who understood that sometimes low-tech solutions save lives that high-tech equipment cannot. When ponchos ran out, soldiers turned to nature. Debris shelters offered surprisingly effective insulation. The principle was elegant: create a branch frame, then pile massive quantities of natural insulation, leaves, pine needles, moss, straw from abandoned farmhouses, over the top and sides. The accumulated debris created dead airspace, trapping body heat while providing a buffer against ground cold. Historical accounts describe soldiers constructing these shelters in severe weather, working in teams to gather materials and assemble structures that looked miserable but worked because they followed fundamental principles. They blocked wind, trapped warmth, and separated the body from frozen ground. After battles, ravaged landscapes offered unexpected resources. Fragments of enemy fortifications, downed timber, and corrugated steel were repurposed into shelters. Salvaged parachutes became roof material. Tarps from abandoned supply caches transformed into weather barriers. Soldiers carved snow caves by excavating chambers into drifts, blocking entrances with materials that trapped warm air while allowing ventilation. These shelters rarely looked comfortable. They looked miserable. Yet they worked because comfort was irrelevant. Survival was everything. Perhaps no discovery reveals the ingenuity of desperate soldiers more clearly than their systematic exploitation of body heat. Alone, a single soldier loses warmth through radiation, conduction, and evaporation. But, strategically grouped, soldiers created a collective warmth that dramatically extended survival time. The spooning formation, soldiers lying on their sides in close contact nested like utensils, became recognized survival practice across military traditions. Direct body-to-body contact created a shared thermal envelope. The soldier in back radiated warmth into the soldier in front. That soldier was warmed on two sides and contributed to warming the soldier ahead. In extreme cold, groups beneath shared blankets or ponchos would rotate positions so no single soldier bore constant exposure. Officers recognized this as legitimate survival technique, not indulgence. The buddy system went deeper. Soldiers paired off, each responsible for watching the other for hypothermia and frostbite signs. This distributed awareness, you can't monitor your own condition effectively in extreme cold, and formalized shared survival. More sophisticated applications involve larger group huddles with soldiers arranged in circles or clusters, rotating positions so no individual remained on the perimeter too long. These weren't casual groupings. They were deliberate formations designed to maximize collective warmth. Historical accounts reveal soldiers understood intuitively what modern thermodynamics confirms. Shared body heat is core to survival. Soldiers who fell asleep alone faced lethal risks. Soldiers arranged in huddles could survive conditions that would kill isolated individuals. The practice became so common that officers encouraged it, recognizing that privacy concerns paled compared to men freezing to death. Soldiers also learned to manage moisture obsessively. Wet fabric conducts heat away from the body approximately 25 times faster than dry fabric. They avoided excessive exertion that produced sweat and changed out of wet clothing immediately. This wasn't intuitive. It was learned through watching comrades die. Battlefields, despite their apocalyptic appearance, contained material abundance. The trick was recognizing what could be salvaged for survival. Newspapers became insulation when layered against skin. Dead air between sheets provided surprising thermal properties. Straw, scavenged from destroyed structures, was stuffed into boots to prevent frostbite, packed into clothing as insulating layers, or spread across ground as vapor barriers. Soldiers created crude sleeping mats entirely from straw and salvaged cloth. The use of heated stones reveals understanding of radiant heat that borders on brilliant. A flat stone heated at a fire was carefully wrapped in cloth before placement near the body. The stone, having absorbed thermal energy, radiated heat for hours, even after the fire extinguished. This had advantages: steady, predictable heat without a fire's inconsistency. Soldiers sometimes shared heated stones, passing them through huddled groups to create rotating warmth that multiplied a single fire's effect. Even discarded equipment found purpose. Empty shell casings filled with hot stones became portable warmth devices. Damaged webbing became cordage. Torn jackets layered over intact uniforms provided additional insulation. The soldier in survival mode saw the battlefield as a salvage yard, a repository of materials waiting to transform into life-saving equipment. These frontline hacks reveal something fundamental. When constrained by desperation, humans become remarkably creative. These soldiers weren't engineers or experts. They were ordinary men facing extraordinary circumstances, learning through observation and failure, sharing knowledge with comrades. These hacks matter beyond their historical context because principles remain constant. The human body loses heat through identical mechanisms today. Wind, moisture, ground contact, and isolation remain primary killers. Modern gear represents optimization of these principles rather than abandonment. Contemporary military sleeping bags work because they insulate through dead airspace, protect against moisture, and provide thermal separation from ground. Exactly what poncho shelters achieved. More profoundly, these forgotten hacks remind us that resilience isn't about having everything you need. It's about recognizing what you do have and deploying it intelligently. Expertise resides in understanding principles, observing environments, and collaborating with others. Thank you for joining us on this journey through forgotten survival techniques. Subscribe to Ancient Edge for more deep dives into hidden historical knowledge. Share this video with anyone who appreciates human resilience and ingenuity. History's greatest lessons often come not from famous moments, but from the quiet ingenuity of ordinary people solving extraordinary problems. The forgotten front lines await.